Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, episode 100. Wow, 100 episodes. Congratulations, Communication Diva. You know, it's been quite a while since we last heard from Jenn in a podcast. Episode 99 was published more than a year and a half ago, in March 2015. I did the math. That was 21 months ago. And now, after over 600 days away, here's Jenn with episode 100 and this nugget of wisdom. Don't put off whatever it is you want to do. Just jump right in. You've got this.
Happy 100th episode. Welcome to the Communication Diva Podcast, the show that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career through skills, training, communication tips, advice, guest expert interviews, and a whole lot more. I'm Jenn Swanson, and I know that it's taken me over a year to get to this episode. That's because lots has happened since the publication of episode 99 back in March of 2015. My book came out in May of that year of 2015, and as of the publication of this show, is still on the Amazon bestseller list in its category in both Canada and the US, so I'm pretty happy about that. I was rather unceremoniously downsized along with half of my department from the college teaching job that I held for 9 years, and I started teaching online right here at Communication Diva, and I love it. I've started kickboxing and a whole lot more, and I'm going to tell you about all of those things later, but for now I want to talk about our theme for today. You got this. That's our theme for today. How to believe in yourself and how to get out of your own way so you can get to doing the things that you really, really want to be doing. Have you ever had it happen where someone has come into your consciousness or into your life, something has come into your consciousness or into your life that hasn't before, and that thing seems to happen to you a lot, and maybe you think that you should be paying attention to it? Do you know what I mean? If you buy a red car and suddenly you're driving around and you're noticing how many red cars there are in the road, for example. Or if you've never heard of a TV show and suddenly you have 3 different people tell you in the same week that you just have to watch that TV show. That happened to us recently with a show called Stranger Things, which we still haven't watched yet, but I've heard from at least 3 people, maybe 4, that, it's the series to be watching on Netflix. Well, not that long ago, I was feeling stuck. And I don't know if you've ever been downsized or laid off, but with all that happened and all that I had been trying to juggle in my life, I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted, and I really wasn't sure what to do next. It was that bone-weary, tired that sometimes happens when you get in too deep. I imagine some of you will know what I'm talking about. I had taken the book Will It Fly by Pat Flynn with me on a retreat to a retreat center. And I don't know if you know about that book, but if you have any kind of a business idea or entrepreneurial bone in your body, I really highly recommend that you check it out, that you get a copy. And I had bought this copy because I'm a huge fan of Pat's, but I was actually avoiding reading it for some reason. I had it on my bedside table. I looked at it every once in a while, and I thought, I really have to get into reading this book. But for some reason, I just couldn't bring myself to actually sit down with the book. I was too tired. I was too preoccupied to get into something that might take more brain power, more thinking. And frankly, I was afraid that I would find out that I was just a huge failure in this online stuff. So I was a bit scared of taking a look in this book. So, what ended up happening is I did take it with me to this retreat center. And the idea was that Scott and I were going to go to this place, bring stuff that we wanted to do, not have any distractions, not have anybody, putting demands on us for about 3 days, just to do what we wanted to do: read, sleep, eat, walk, nap, whatever, and not have to work on anything we didn't want to work on. So I took this book, I threw it in my bag. I thought, maybe I'll get a chance to actually sit down with it. And what ended up happening is I spent hours sitting at a quiet table in a sunny dining room by myself with this book, with a whole stack of post-it notes, and with my computer, and my world kind of changed. Now that sounds really dramatic, but in a way it was. I decided, because of an exercise in the book called the airport exercise, that I needed to get back into a fitness routine when I got home. And I decided a number of other things. And bear with me, because the story does come to the point of the show. When I got back from the retreat, I went to a free trial session at a gym called 30 Minute HIT. It's a kickboxing circuit for women. It's not hitting real people. It's just vinyl pads and bolsters and a rubber dummy named Bob. I think they call it shadow boxing. But I've never done anything like it before. I'm a yoga person and an exercise video kind of gal. So to go to a gym with a trainer cheering me on and to sweat like mad for a very, very, very challenging 30 minutes of high intensity, like HIT, high intensity workout, this was all new. But it fit into my goal, having done this exercise, of being fit and of working out 3 to 4 times a week on a regular basis for the foreseeable future. Because, face it, I turned 49 this year. I am not young anymore. and this was part of the exercise that I did in the book Will It Fly? And here's where the first occurrence of the title of this show came in. When, during one of my earliest workout sessions, a young trainer named Kayla said to me, "You got this, Jen." And for some reason, even though I know she says it to lots of the people that she trains, for some reason, pardon the pun, it just hit home. And I remember very clearly, as I pounded Bob the dummy in his rubber abs while not looking at him in his rubber eyes, because I've never hit anybody in my life and it felt really awkward. As I did this, I remember thinking, you know what? I so do have this. I've got this. What is getting me stuck? Why am I doubting myself, and what is stopping me from proceeding and succeeding and getting on with things? Why have I not picked up this podcasting microphone for a year and a half? What is it that's got me stuck? So then later that same week, I was going back and forth on Facebook, on a Facebook chat with a pretty well-known guy in the podcast world who started the podcast movement, Jared Easley. Jared is also quite renowned for his terrible dad jokes on Facebook. And if you're listening, Jared, they do make me laugh despite being designed for 7-year-olds. It does give me a lift. Anyhow, I typed something about being stuck at episode 99 of the podcast in this chat to him. And for some reason, when we were chatting, this came up, and his words back to me were, "You got this, Jen." And there it was, boom, right? 2 people that I don't even know very well somehow could see what I couldn't see. I know how to do stuff. I am capable of doing stuff. I just needed to believe in myself. This past week at the gym, another trainer said to me, "Do it like you know how. Do it like you know how to do it." And I thought once again, yes. I could spend all sorts of time learning how to do stuff without ever doing it. And I'm sure lots of us have done that. You watch all sorts of YouTube videos, you imagine yourself doing stuff, you dream about how you might do stuff, and you can get lost in that trap. You can get lost in learning all about the best ways of doing X, whatever X happens to be, without actually ever trying it. And so I wondered, why am I my worst critic? Why are we our worst critics? Why do we doubt ourselves? I know how to record a podcast. I have a list of people who want to be guests. I have all the equipment, and somehow I thought episode 100 had to be this huge, big fanfare, this huge, big deal. So due to worry and not knowing what to talk about and countless other imaginary obstacles and procrastination tricks, which I'm really, really good at, this show didn't get produced until right now. Do it like you know how to do it, she said. Why didn't I follow this advice earlier? Sometimes I think we get in our own way, and I want to share with you 7 excuses that I think we might tell ourselves that just don't help. And these are, and I'm talking to myself here too. These are 7 things that I have said to myself, and that have prevented me from doing things that I really, really wanted to do. But they have gotten in the way. And for some reason, these 7 things have spoken more loudly at different times in my life than they needed to, or they should have. So here are the 7 things. I'm going to list them off now, and then we'll go through them one by one. Number 1, I'm just going to wait and see. Number 2, I'm not ready yet. Number 3, someone else is already doing it and doing it way better than me. Number 4, it's not good enough yet. Number 5, it's not perfect yet. Number 6, it might fail. And number 7, it might be successful. All right, so let's unpack these a little bit. Number 1, I'm just going to wait and see. Yesterday, I was a guest speaker in a college classroom of people about to graduate from a career development course. These were skilled immigrants coming into the country who were taking some training in how to go about finding a job. And one of the things I was talking to them about was how to develop the habit daily of managing their job search. I asked them what would happen if they didn't do something each day toward their goal. And they all looked at me kind of smiling for a moment until I said, nothing. Nothing will happen if you don't make it happen. No one is going to just happen to call you up and hire you for the perfect job, right? That's just not going to happen. The whole exercise of getting a job in the first place, as an example, can be an overwhelming process that can be paralyzing. It's just way easier to, curl up on the couch with Netflix or YouTube or clean the house or, cook something amazing or do something else rather than actually doing something that will get you to where you want to go. It's just too much. Sometimes it's too overwhelming. So the thing is, and again, I'm preaching to myself here, so please know that although a project might seem enormous, like writing a book seemed just huge, or developing a course, or finding a job, these are huge tasks or huge goals, huge projects. Nothing's actually going to happen until you begin. And even doing one task each day for an allotted amount of time is going to get you heading in the right direction and moving you closer to a goal, even one tiny little task. And so what I was saying to the students yesterday was pick a time of day and for even 10, 15 minutes, do something, do one task, do one thing that will get you a little bit closer to the big G goal that is over there in the distance, right? Because no one else is going to do this for you. You're the only one who's going to do it. And if you get inspired and you have the energy and the time to do more than 15 minutes, then great. But at least start, because no one else is going to do that for you, guaranteed. So I'm just going to wait and see. I don't know what we are waiting to see. I don't know why, it's a terrible excuse and I've used it. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm not ready. This is a really, really good excuse. And sometimes it's really valid, but much of the time it's just a really, really good excuse. My very first episode of this podcast, Communication Diva Podcast, was about 10 minutes long. I only actually did it because I had listened to the very first episode of a show by a young woman who was not feeling ready, but who had gone ahead and published her first episode, and it was about 8 minutes long, I think. And no, it wasn't brilliant, and no, it wasn't perfect, and she wasn't actually ready. But I listened to her first episode, and that it really encouraged me to just do it. Just do it. And I did. And here I am at number 100. And no, I didn't have the best equipment. I still don't have the best equipment. I have good equipment, but I don't think it's the best equipment. And yes, I was afraid. And no, I didn't really know what I was doing back then. And it sounds like I'm reading a script at the beginning if you go back and listen. And I hate going back to listen to my beginning episodes. But you know what? I learned with time and experience. And I think that the show has gotten better and better. And, so don't let not being ready keep you from reaching your goals. You might never be ready otherwise, and you might never just begin. So I encourage you to just take that first step, whatever that first step is, towards doing what it is that you really want to do. If it's getting a fabulous job, what's your first step? Do you have a resume, right? Do you have a resume that's ready? That kind of thing. And as an aside and a shameless self-promotion, if you don't have a resume that's ready, come on over to communicationdiva.com. And if you sign up for the newsletter or the email list, you will get a free coupon for the Resume Secrets, which is less than an hour and will allow you to learn how to do a really rockin' good resume. All right, number 3, someone else is already doing it, and they're doing it way better than me. Okay, so there is always going to be somebody who is doing something that is better than what you are doing. That will always be true. However, the interesting thing is, the true thing is, they are not you. You are unique, and you have something to offer the world that no one else can quite do in the same exact way. So the word better is subjective. There are so many reasons why what you have to share might resonate with people in ways that others can't do. Yeah, there might be 58 people applying for the very same job, but your unique personality, which is what comes through at an interview, your experience or your skill set might be the best fit for the company in question. And you won't know. You won't know that until you actually try. And of course, there will always be people more qualified, people more experienced, more innovative, more attractive, more popular, more successful, just fill in the blank, more ... That's true. But if you don't ever try, how are you going to know how you will do? And wondering and regretting for the rest of your life is likely more haunting than trying it and then deciding that maybe this goal that you have isn't for you. So I say that the excuse of I'm not, there's someone else is doing it way better than me, is a really poor excuse, a lame excuse, in fact. Don't underestimate what could happen in a day. You might just be the answer to the problem that the person is looking for. You might be helping people that you don't even realize you're helping. What you do in a day might touch someone in a profound way that you may never actually meet. So I would say, if you have the passion, if you have the energy, no matter what your goal is, go for it and then see what happens, right? Number 4, it's not good enough yet. Well, sometimes that's true. Make your resume as good as you possibly can. Practice your answers to potential interview questions. Rehearse your speech if you're making a speech, or your song if you're singing a song, or whatever it is you're doing. Bring the best that you've got to the effort, and the best that you've got and the best that you can do right now in this moment. And yeah, it may not be good enough for you, but it might be good enough for the people that are receiving whatever it is. So like number 2, you will get better with time, and you will get better with experience at whatever it is you're wanting to do. But not doing it won't get you there. It just absolutely can't. So to think it's not good enough yet, I wonder about people like artists, and I wonder about people like dancers, and I wonder about people who create things. I wonder how they felt at the very beginning and whether they felt that whatever they were doing was good enough yet. And many people who have created things will go back to the beginning and look at what they've created or listen to what they've done and think, ew. But at the time it was the best that you could do. So it's not good enough yet is not a good enough excuse. Number 5 is it's not perfect yet. And it's pretty similar to number 4. I'm a perfectionist, which is, I don't say that proudly. It's not a good thing. I've had to learn to let things go. Often my expectations are higher than those that others have of me anyways. So I am in my own way by creating these high expectations for myself and then failing often because I don't meet them. So it's the same as number 4, only I can pretty much say from experience that nothing is truly perfect. This personal growth stuff is as much about letting go as it is about growing and gaining. So what can you let go of right now that will help you to get out of your own way? What can you let go of right now that will help you get out of your own way so that you can take that next step? And so what if it's not perfect? So what? Okay, number 6, it might fail. Yep, it just might fail. And as I also said to the class I was speaking to yesterday, failure is not the worst thing that could happen. The worst thing that could happen is that you don't try again. Now, most successful people have failed, and they have failed repeatedly. That's how they figured out what worked and what didn't work for them. There isn't a successful person out there who hasn't failed and gotten up again to try one more time or to start over. It's how you handle that failure that is the key thing. Now, I talk a lot about this in the book that I wrote, What They See, How to Stand Out and Shine in Your New Job. I talk about failure, and I talk about how we seem to want to protect our kids from failing, which I think is really a disservice in many ways. Not everyone is going to win the ribbon at the race. Not everyone is going to be the MVP, the most valuable player. Not everyone is going to get straight A's. And truthfully, letter grades don't dictate your worth or your value in this world. They're a box that we put people in, and they don't determine how successful you'll be in all areas of your life in the future. They don't. It's important to do well, but your life doesn't depend on the marks and the boxes that other people put you in. People who fail and get up again are often the most wise and most resilient people of all. People who have had deep and big failures in their lives and who have come out the other side are often some of the most grounded, some of the most interesting, some of the most wise people in this world. The fact that you might fail is not a good enough reason to not try. I'm going to say that again. The fact that you might fail is not a good enough reason to not at least try. And the last point is number 7. It might be successful. And you might be saying, well, that's the whole point, dummy. Yes, but fear of success is actually a real thing. With success comes great responsibility and a whole lot of work on top of it. So the thought of being successful might be just as daunting as the thought of failing. What happens if? What happens if? I guess you need to deal with that when it happens. But it's just as legitimate a fear as the fear of failing. You might actually be successful, and that might bring a whole world of other challenges to your life. And so for some people, that's just too much to contemplate. But it is a fear that people have. They fear they might fail, and they fear they might just succeed. So aiming, for any goal, takes courage. And I've wanted to write a book for my whole life, and it was an opportunity that was too good to miss. I had time. I didn't have the finances to be able to do it, but I was able to barter my podcasting skills and draw up a contract with a publisher, and that worked out well. And you know, it was a ton of work. It was scary. It was boring at times. It was exhausting. There were times when I wondered if I would ever get it finished or I would ever get through all the edits. And yet, bit by bit, day by day, it happened. I remember sitting in this very desk with my dog lying on my feet. You know, it was like some crazy hour of the morning, and I was trying to get stuff completed to meet deadlines. And now the book is out there, you know, and people are using this book to build workshops and to use it for courses for employment skills. It's in counseling departments, you know, job career people are using it. You know, the government employment office has copies of it. It's out there, and it has opened doors for me that I would never ever have imagined. I've been invited to give workshops, and I'm speaking to groups. I'm doing workshops at libraries, and people are still buying this book, and that's pretty amazing to me. And I'm very humbled by it. But it was hard. It was hard to make the decision that yes, I'm going to do this. And step one was, you know, opening up that Word document and starting to type. And it was pretty crazy. I also was laid off in January, as I said before, from one of my jobs in a downsizing move that was really stressful. Half of our department was cut. And for the first time in my 23 years of teaching college in healthcare, I didn't have a classroom to prepare for or students to teach. And my world was rather upended. Now, it's always been a part-time job for me. I've always done other work, and I still have my ministry, the church that I'm leading. But the teaching is really important to me, and it's something I value. And I value helping students, you know, figure out what they can do and helping them succeed. And not, you know, being a college teacher was part of my identity. I'm still actually feeling the effects of that pretty traumatic experience. And so it's taken me a while to recover from that experience and, you know, to figure out, well, then what? And then in June of this year, 2016, I was invited to attend a webinar about a platform called Teachable. And about 48 hours after that webinar, there's me launching the video course called Resume Secrets to help people create better resumes. I took a talk that I'd given at a high school this past spring and turned it into an online video course. And students have come and are taking the course. I've got at least 24 students that have gone through since June, and there I am teaching again. I spent all sorts of time this summer creating what I think is a unique course for engaged couples called Marriage Works. This is essentially an online workshop, a communications workshop to help couples talk about deep questions and to make plans and set some goals for their marriage before they get married, which is, you know, a lot of people don't do this. Some people do it because they have to do it, because their church or their, you know, whoever's marrying them says you have to do it. But if it's not expected, there are very few people that actually think about preparing for marriage as opposed to just preparing for the wedding day, which is one day, and the marriage is your lifetime. So I created this huge course. It's 16 parts. It took me hours and hours to create. It's live now on the website, and people have been going through and experiencing it, and I'm getting really good feedback about that. And I'm able to make a difference in the lives of couples who, again, most of whom I will never meet. And I'm creating content to help people communicate more deeply at home and at work. And that's what I do. So my classroom is now virtual unless I'm doing a live workshop, but I'm still teaching. I'm still empowering others to succeed. And so while my layoff was devastating, it also became an opportunity. So while having missed producing the podcast for you for the past year and a half, I have been busy creating other things, all with the common purpose of helping others to know that they can. And so that's what I'm hoping that this podcast will do for you, is for you to take a hard look at what it is that is stopping you from taking the next steps that you need to take in order to reach that goal, whatever that goal happens to be for you. Are any of these 7 things stopping you? And if they are you able to identify the first thing that you could do today, right now, as soon as you stop listening to me, when you stop this podcast episode, what is the first thing, even if it's tiny, that you can do right now to make you step one step closer to that goal and to make your goal that much more real? Because it's up to you. And like my kickboxing trainer and podcast buddy both said to me, you've got this. Do it like you know you can. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. I invite you to share this episode with someone in your life who needs a shot of encouragement right now. Send them a little boost by sending them this episode. Tweet it out. Come on over to communicationdiva.com. There are share buttons there. Come and check out the courses that I've got uploaded and live, and there'll be more courses coming. And I'm really open to suggestions as to what courses you would like for employment skills, etc. So thank you for listening to episode 100 and being part of the Communication Diva audience. I so appreciate your listening and the continued listening, all the people that have been listening in the year and a half as I have not been producing the podcast. Until next time, I promise that I will do this a whole lot sooner than the last time. But until next time, take good care. This is Jenn Swanson at communicationdiva.com.